Hello? Yeah. Thank you so much. What a wonderful energy in the room. I love it. A lot of people are already going out for lunch. That worries me. Okay. So let's start by giving a big round of applause for the organizers and for the beautiful panelists here. A huge round of applause. We're here for experience, am I right? Let's give them a best experience that we can. You can't just stop right now. Just go on. A very unusual beginning, isn't it? I wanted to make sure after the session is over, half of the people are still sitting here. That's why I wanted to make sure the experience is given much ahead in advance. But having said that, let's talk about today's topic. And I will talk about first a bit about employee experience. And let's see, the world has changed dramatically, isn't it? 6 months back, we were talking about great resignation. We were talking about strategies. How do we retain people? 6 months fast forward, today we are talking about recession. I've never heard ever in my life, 6 months, and we're talking about recession. The same set of talent that we were trying to retain, we are now talking about what to do with them. There's another example that I will take. I don't know how many of you sitting here in the room had heard before November, what is ChatGPT? But today, I even saw people raising hands and asking questions, how many of you do not know it? That's how the world is radically changing. A pandemic which had shut down the whole world, never heard of things like that. So what's happening? The amount of change that has happened in last 20 years has not happened in last 20,000 years. And let's try to make sense out of it. And I would say only two things that we are going to talk here today, well-being and employee experience. Well-being, which was earlier more looked upon as a welfare, then became kind of health, safety, environment, and today is called as holistic well-being. That means my choice, my health, my device, and my place. The same way, if you look at experience in terms of engagement, it started with retention and productivity, then became employee engagement. Now it is called as employee experience, and I was talking to my panelist, very soon it will be called as digital employee experience, which will be based on cognition and empathy. So the world is changing at a faster pace. And to demystify this story, I have a beautiful set of panelists here with me. And my first question is to you, Tariq, wherein I would want to understand this infusion of technology that has happened. How is it shaping the future of work, and what's the importance of well-being, and in particular, employee experience? What is happening in this technology world?
Thank you very much for having this great panel. I guess the case for technology is very well known to all of us. Better technology will give us easier jobs, will save time, save costs, give us better quality, more flow of information to our staff. So the case is very clear about using technology in a better employee experience. But guess what? The whole issue that according to CIPD last study, 40% of staff feel that technology made their work harder. It makes it more complex. And 50% of them, they said they don't have the skill to run this technology in their organizations. So technology, of course, we know the case for it. We are all convinced with it. However, if we didn't enable our staff to have this technology, to have development programs and trainings, to better use the technology, to have a better employee experience, we'll still have the challenge of employee experience facing the organizations nowadays. Secondly, regarding to the performance and productivity, technology enabled lots of alternatives to staff. This gig economy rising up there. Now, anybody in the market can work as an Uber, can have a freelance job, can work remotely. Lots of options has been there for our staff. So the challenge now is transforming the mindset of employers. Most of the employers have this mindset that employees need to work for us. But we need to change this mindset of we need to make them want to work for us, not just the need. So we need to provide them with better experience in order to attract them and keep them on board and not to go for other alternatives regarding their job. One final thought on this, I guess technology will never replace, it's called employee experience. It will remain always human-based experience. So technology will not replace it, but it will enable it. Lots of us take this employee experience through lots of measurement. But I believe, as we discussed earlier, just one survey a year won't ever be indicative about the employee experience, how they feel. Employees live 36 the full year with you, so they need to have, they have everyday feeling. Their feelings change every day. So you need to capture all data points, every day, how they feel, how they do, how they act, their exit interviews, their satisfaction surveys, pulse surveys, checks, mood surveys. So you need to take every single data. Thanks to technology, it enabled us to monitor more, to get more data, have this continuous feedback. However, if we just stick to the numbers and forget about the human base factor, this won't solve the problem.
Agree. So true, Tariq, and I do agree that human touch has to be there, despite of the fact technology is there. And my next question is to you. We see so much of infusion of technology that's happening. At the same time, the work models have changed, isn't it? People from work from office have become work from home, and now it's hybrids. Now, what's your take on it? Has the employee experience gone up or it's gone down? And second is it productive or it's counterproductive in these new model of work that you see which are evolving? So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting topic. And when I was posed the question, I looked back and I thought, I thought about an organisation that I work with who traditionally very, very untrusting of the employees. Swipe in, swipe out. If you're 4 minutes late, one warning. If you're another 4 minutes late, second warning. Messages going out from HR continually about being late. When the opportunity was forced to work remotely, the organisation was one of the fastest I saw change. So the employee experience and engagement in that organisation was extremely low. It was continually, we're not trusted, the management don't trust us. Suddenly, remote working, it shifted. That employee's experience, they felt that they had autonomy, they felt trusted. So the remote working for that organisation shifted the employee experience. So it had a very positive impact. The question is whether that was sustainable to continue.
True.
And we see a lot of organisations are slipping backwards. I had a chairman say to me, why is nobody in the office? I said, why do they have to be in the office? They've not been in the office for nearly 2 years. But I want to see people. And I think the question is in terms of the experience and well-being, you've got to change your strategy. What worked before in terms of face-to-face, the hurrahs, the team building, family days, etc., it doesn't stand now. Some people want to work from home, some people don't. And I think the experience is an individual experience. Because employee experience is a multiple of everybody's individual experience, and one size doesn't fit all. So you have to adapt. So people are more comfortable working from home. That's fine, let them work from home, have the trust. It does open a huge talent pool. Struggling for talent, suddenly if you can work online, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You open it as an organisation, the net to catch the talent. Some individuals, unfortunately, on the well-being side, it has impacted on people's mental health. I think I read a staggering statistic where, one of the feedback of people who are working remotely, who it doesn't fit them, are feeling the loneliness. And a statistic that came out from King's College in Dublin said that, Queen's College in Dublin, was that loneliness has the biggest impact on your morbidity rate than obesity, alcohol, smoking. So if you're an individual who needs that interaction and you're suddenly feeling isolated, then it's going to impact your employee experience. So I think as HR people, we have to be more open to different strategies for different people. I've never been a fan of everything for everybody, and different managers, they manage the people in different ways, so it's that flexibility. But I think the key is the linking to the individuals and how do you make that experience? How do you reach the people? True. It's fantastic because you can actually reach more people at one time than having everybody in.
True.
But, sorry.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Very authentic. It has to be very personalized and it has to matter to the organization. Absolutely correct. Taking that clue onward and there's always, and that's my personal view, sometimes as CHROs when we go and present our ideas and thoughts around employee experience, and my question is to you, Ali, we sometimes feel a little hesitant. Is our CEO going to invest in it? So my question here is, how do you strike a balance in between employee experience and business limitations? Am I right? That's a reality that we live in. You know, everybody wants to give their employees the best of the experience in the whole world. But is it one, correlating with my business? And second, what is my business reality? So that's my first question. And adding to that is, how do you calculate ROI on it, which is return on investment?
Thanks, Raj. I think it's the challenge that the CHROs are facing, specifically when it comes to the employee experience concept, which comes, I think, by 2017, 2015, versus the customer experience, which was there since early 90s. I think it's more or less that we learn that the customer experience has the value that the business are feeling, okay, because customers right now are not only focusing on the product or service, they are influenced by their reputation, they are influenced by what's there in the social media, what the comments are about the product or the service. So the whole customer experience value has came up to the HR professionals to say, we need also to think about the employee experience, okay, similar to what we have seen on the CX. So the EX right now is not just a matter of how much we pay, okay. The EX right now is about how the purpose of the company people are feeling. It's all about how people are engaged or disengaged, how people feel they have a career growth, okay? And I think it is the moment of truth, which was there in the CX, has become the moment of value that the employee is considering in the employee experience. What makes the employee wake up at the morning and feeling fully energized to go to work, this is what the CHRO and the business leaders should think about. It's not just a matter of how much we pay and the benefits we provide, rather than what the employees feels from the leadership style, from the purpose of why they are doing their job, okay? I still remember during the pandemic where we feel as a management that it's secure to the staff to stay home, to avoid the interaction and to be more safe. But by the time a week, a month, 2 months, they started calling us saying, guys, we would like to go back to work in the office. So what we feel is the best for the employee experience is different than what the people itself feel for them to perform more. So this is also back to how we engage, how we gauge and measure the EX, whether it is by the surveys or by the pulse surveys or the one-on-one discussions. It's very important also to gauge and measure that and convert these results into the return on investment figures and numbers. And this is what the business leaders should understand. When we talk about the EX, we are not talking about spending millions to the staff. It's not the whole fact or the whole reality. It's how we treat them, how our leadership style is, how the processes, how the digitization that enables them to do their job better and better.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with you. Sometimes it's very, very important to look at both explicit and implicit way of results that are coming because of greater employee experience. If you look at today's world, and my next question is to you, often said data is the new oil, am I right? We hear so much of employee data being churned around, and there are new tools like AI, automation, they are coming and they are cluttering the space of well-being employee experience. What's your view on these new kids on the block, which is AI, automation, and how they are impacting the overall gamut of well-being, analytic experience, and automation?
Well, I'd like to expand a bit about the role of AI, because I strongly believe that the future is not about AI, it's not about artificial intelligence, it's about augmented intelligence. Yes, AI is replacing lots of jobs, and it's taken over prescribed and repetitive, patronized jobs, but still, we as human beings, we're still needed. AI will not replace humans entirely. I've got a story to share with you. Now, ChatGPT is proliferating, and it's going viral. My sons, they are 10 years, and they are not satisfied with the outcomes. They use ChatGPT to solve the issues of writing their assignments faster and quicker. And always, they are not satisfied with the outcomes. They have to work on it. They have to improve it. They have to advance the outcomes. So they come and say, it doesn't solve everything. Yes, it's quite faster, but I have to get involved. That's a 10-year-old child. What about your employees? What about you as a leader? What about the organization? We need humans to make decisions, to conceptualize thinking, and to bring back innovation at work. Few weeks ago, we've hosted at ABI, at our job, a Dutch professor of data science and analytics. And we were exploring a new role that was put forward by McKinsey. It's called analytics translator. Because probably, yes, machines are powerful in terms of data processing, in terms of visualization, but they are not making decisions. They are not making innovation. They are not creating concepts. They are not helping people. Even with the COVID, we all came out of the virtual world, bubble of the COVID, and crave in-person meetings and crave being back to work. Yeah, we had surveyed the morning. Yes, we I think had a survey the morning about the current state of work arrangements. And most of you preferred hybrid work, not remote work. And we're going into distributing workforce models. We're going into working from anywhere. We're going into a hyper-personalized world. But we still need humans to work in collaboration with the machine, so we can augment the intelligence and complement the strengths of both of each other. So I think you might agree with me that humans are indispensable, and we need to work with each other as human beings. And if we are speaking about human employee experience, I think we're living in the post-digital age, not the digital age. We're living in a humane age where mental health and well-being are critical and important. So the more organizations and leaders and HR leaders are thinking of technology as an empowering tool, as an enabler,
True.
The more we can move forward, the more we can improve the experience. And the more we look at in technology as a monitoring tool and a controlling tool, the more we diminish and quench the opportunities for people to grow and to maximize the impact at work.
Agree.
So I think collaboration is needed in the future.
I think you're absolutely right. Let's try to engage audience also, and we are talking about future of work, am I right? Is there anybody in the audience who can tell me who tossed the concept of employee experience? You can't Google it, please? Can anybody tell me how did this all begin, employee experience? Okay, so let's at least give some takeaway as a part of the session. You'll be surprised to know that in 2008, there was a professor called as Kavier Abhari who tossed this concept called as employee experience. And it did not gain momentum till early 2015. It's only in 2015 when great thinkers like Jacob Morgan and Josh Bersin, they started writing about employee experience, and pandemic happened after that. It became far more important, and we are talking today, and the genesis was as simple as that treat your employee exactly the same way as you want them to be treating your customers. It's as simple as that. That reminds me of a fact that in today's world, the hunger for love and appreciation is far more higher than bread. And that's my next question to you, Tariq. How do you see the future of reward? Because reward is a very, very inherent need of a human mankind. And in the future of work and experience, what place do you see it has, or what changes do you see it's going to happen there?
Thank you for that question. I think it's really important part of the employee experience is the reward and recognition part. But when you talk about experience, it's always about the feel. So it's beyond the tangible parts, not beyond the certificate he will get. It's beyond the cash he will get in his bank. It's going more towards belonging. Employees need to feel that they belong. They need to feel that they belong to a higher purpose, to a community. So the social recognition is the coming trend or is the rising trend now. Lots of companies is using it. So the employee doesn't just want to get a paycheck with extra merit at the end of the month or a certificate or extra bonus, but he needs to feel recognized with his family, with his friends, with the community, not just inside the company. So being recognized on the social media, using all the platforms available, I think this is very rising trend and should be the future in rewards. One other thing, employees started to feel like negative about the cliche kind of rewards and recognition. So this employee of the month that has been there for like 50, 60 years is no more rewarding for them. It's a cliche. They need something more personalized, something that really differentiates his personal achievement, his contribution. Again, he needs to get the reward, but with a human touch. This tap on his shoulder, for him, is very important above the certificate you will get him. So getting more personalized, adding more differentiators, and more focus on the human element in the rewards and recognition is very crucial in the coming period. Another trend that I believe it will be the future is the 360 approach in rewards and recognition. One's really get warm-hearted when he gets recognition or appreciation from his direct manager. But imagine he gets it from the boss of his manager. It has higher impact. Imagine he gets it from a different department, from a head of department in a different area. It feels more valuable. Imagine he gets it from a supplier. Imagine he gets it from the customer, from his peers. So having this appreciation culture 360 with all stakeholders, with the employee, I believe it will be the next big thing in
Sure.
the rewards and recognition.
Sure,
Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I do agree social recognition and individualized and personal has a greater impact on the motivation of people. My next question, given the paucity of time, is to both of you, Ali and Anne, and I'd start with Ali and then come to you. Is digitization of HR services is the future of employee experience, and what are the limitations to it? So it's to both of you.
Well, I think the HR services are touching the heart of most of the employees. You know, sorry to say, when they feel the HR is just the bureaucracy and the payroll processing department. When the HR started providing the online services, when they started providing a very quick and personalized and tailor-made services to the employees, okay, people started the value of HR, which directly or indirectly enhance the employee experience as an overall. Okay, so digitizing the services of HR and providing easy access, 24/7 services to the employees, for sure this is going to increase and enhance the employee experience. Not only this, okay, it enhanced the efficiency of the company as well. So by going paperless, by going in more efficient way rather than having, you know, a lot of expenses, okay, so by this, you as a business leader can get a win, and you as an HR leader, okay, can enhance the employee experience of your staff. And I believe we are living in technology all around us, not only during our job. It's at home, it's at the shopping, it's at the street. Everywhere we are being treated by the technology. So having this in our workplace, this is definitely going to be a plus.
Understood. What do you feel, and are the limitations to employee experience? Where do you feel that those are barriers that we can remove it?
I think, sorry, one of the things I'd like to use this opportunity to mention is, you know, one of the hats that the CHRO wears that people don't often talk about. You know, we're advisors, we're counsel, but quite often we're also therapists. And one of the things that is a hot topic now when we're recruiting for talent is I often get asked is, you know, in terms of benefits, what are your well-being strategies? You know, what does your insurance cover? What is the maternity leave? What is the paternity leave? Do you offer support services? I think it's, you know, staggering statistics that, you know, currently that in 2017, 10% of the world suffered from some kind of mental illness. In 2021, it went up to over 20%. That's staggering. And I had a CHRO colleague say to me, well, it's not our problem. I said, if you're talking about 20% of your workforce, then it is our problem. People are spending more and more time in work, you know, whether that's online, whether it's hybrid. You know, we're expected to do more in less time. It's going to impact people's well-being. So if it isn't, the organisation doesn't look after its people, then everything else becomes irrelevant. And the cost and productivity, you know, anybody who's suffering from any mental health issues, which nobody tends to speak about, it's known that the 1/3 less have cognitive ability. You know, they make poor decisions at that time. And the longer you leave it, the more difficult it comes. And they said, but that is not the company's burden. I said, but the burden is on the organisation, because at the end of the day, these people will suffer physical symptoms. It comes down to your insurance. It is going to affect your bottom line. So you can't ignore employee well-being. And I think now people are very much more focused on that in organisations in terms of what can you do. For me, I've seen a definitely shift in terms of you are no longer interviewing the employee are interviewing you, and you have to be aware of what experience you're going to provide them, and it has to be an authentic one, and also in terms of their well-being, what you're going to do in terms of support them. And I think around well-being, it is still not the conversation we're having enough as CHROs.
True. So much agree with you. And in fact, if we look at it, the world demographics and dynamics are changing, you know. We had Zen X, Y, Z, then we talked about further, you know, looking at how boomers, you know, alphas are coming in, which is changing the complete workplace. And they have very different demands as a part of their work life, you know. We are hearing new terms altogether, which is career cushioning, quiet quitting, moonlighting, and there's so much happening around us. But they have very different needs, you know, very, very unique way of working, you know. They don't want to get hung up to a particular role. Their well-being needs are very different. Their employee experiences are very different. So what's your take on it? I mean, with this changing workforce and dynamics that's happening, how is the future is going to look like, and how will we accommodate so many different unique asks of different kind of employees, different geographies, different countries? So as a CHROs or HR leaders, what do we do to ensure that we have well-being strategies and employee experience strategies focusing towards productivity?
Yes, that's a very good question, and I want to build on my colleagues explained, and I'll start with what Tarek has just specified about the personalization. We're living in a hyper-personalized world. We all get motivated when the service we receive is personalized, and talents are idiosyncratic. There's no, definitely, we all know that there's no one size fits all, but it's not just about Generation Z. We have 5 generations at work, at the same workplace right now. And also we have a very pressing force of the aging population. The life expectancy age is going up. And we expect many people from older generations to stay at work for a longer time. And not just to stay at work, they are still productive, they are still effective, they are still contributing, and they have completely different expectations. And generations that also had different expectations, but you know how things are running? This moment, we're living in the fastest moment that we've ever lived. And that's the slowest moment that we will live ever, forever, in the future. So the acceleration of change is becoming faster, and we expect Generation Alpha to get into the workplace earlier than before. Generation Alpha is not going to wait until being 20 years or 18 years to join. They are going to be disruptors for some organizations. And the whole story is not about performance. We need to think of how we look at our performance management systems, how we look at evaluating the performance of our people. And I will ask you a question here. How many of you are currently satisfied with the current state of performance management? If you are satisfied with the current state of your performance management systems, please raise your hands.
No wonder. No wonder.
It's not a surprise. For all HR managers, it's not a surprise. People are not satisfied, HR leaders are not satisfied, and managers are not satisfied. There must be something wrong here. We're looking at performance. However, based on statistics, 88% of Fortune 500 companies in 1955 are vanished, completely vanished. They are no longer there. It's not about performance. It's not about getting your target. It's about innovation. It's about having those engaged talents who can work collaboratively and use the power of diversity to promote collaborative intelligence and to come up with new solutions to help business future-proof themselves in the future. So it's about flexibility. We're moving. I'd like to use a metaphor of you moving from a beehive workplace, beehive-like workplace, or Swiss watch. I'm a fan of a Swiss watch, but the workplace is no longer a Swiss watch. It's no longer about discipline. It's no longer about control. It's no longer about rigid structure. We're moving into slinky coil-like workplaces, more agile, more responsive, more flexible. So organization could move forward. And most of the time we're speaking about our talents, but we need to put people in the center, and not by coddling our people, not by pampering them, but by holding them accountable. Holding them accountable for the engagement, for the development, for their well-being. Give them challenges and give them control. I want to copy the word of Daniel Pink, the renowned psychologist. In 2009, Daniel Pink has mentioned that management is an old technology. Today, the technology of today is autonomy and accountability. At ABI, with my current employer and with my former employer, we have already abandoned performance management systems entirely, and we have removed rating, we've removed evaluation, so nobody is evaluating anybody in the organization. We're holding people accountable for the progress, for the need, for the development, for customizing the benefits, for customizing their expectations, and we promote peer coaching, job crafting, helping people to expand their role and find a way to maximize the impact. And ironically, it is working. Even 360, many of us use 360, and it never works because it is associated with contingent rewards. Use 360 and let people know that there is no repercussions, there's no actions for 360, and people will be committed to get the benefits of 360. So I'd like to shed light that flexibility and responsiveness, personalization, and agility at the workplace is not becoming a welfare or a nice to have. It's essential for organizations to grow, not just for people.
True, and additionally, I beautifully like the 2 points that you said additionally, which is, hyper-personalization and innovation that sits on the top of it. Absolutely, and we are just on the verge of our timing. So let's open it for audiences and answer some of the questions if they do have. So we are opening it up for audience for any question if you have, please. Yeah, can somebody give a mic there, or please? Yeah, there's one more question in the back.
Mike.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so I thank you so much. We've had such a great experience here and listened to everything you said. We have all the chief HR people sitting on this panel. So my question is to you. From what I gather, a good employee experience depends on the organizational culture, i.e. what is valued within a company. Is it just sales figures or quarterly earnings, or is it good customer service wins or teamwork or collaboration, etc. So as leaders in HR, how much of agents of change are you to affect organizational cultural change? Or is it just dependent on the top leadership only and HR is just supposed to follow that? Or can we also imagine being the change makers within the organizations?
Yeah. Anybody would like to take this? I don't mind.
I think we've just run out of time, but I think, the topic of culture and change and who drives that change in an organisation will be an entire, other conference. But I think it's really interesting in, terms especially within this region of forcing culture change, because what my colleagues have said here is it's about personalisation, and what tends to come with a culture change is a blanket approach. But people will fight against that because we want to be seen as individuals, more so now. The generations that are coming up, they're very individualist. They want to speak out, they want to speak up. So I think in terms of championing change, yes, HR now has a seat at the table, but it also needs that voice.
True.
And along with that voice, it needs a budget, it needs the support. And I think this is where a lot of these programs fall down, because you need all of that. If you don't have all of that, if you don't have it all synergy in sync, it won't work, it will fail. And I think it's fantastic we are at that table. It's whether you can be effective at that table, I think, which both, other speakers have said earlier, is the difference and the key for HR in terms of driving that.
True. I'll just quickly add 2 lines to it. Never start your change at the top, but make them the ambassadors of change and celebrate change with them. Because if you celebrate change with leadership at the top, it's easy to percolate it down the line. Second is, whenever you create an experience, just don't create it because everybody is doing it. Look at those moments that matters for employee and employee life cycle, and then celebrate those changes with leadership. You will see a great impact on your culture. We'll just take the last question in the back since we are up time. And certainly to both of you who asked the question first, I'd request you to please come to Advantage Club counter. No sales, but your gifts are there.
Hello, hi, good afternoon.
Yes,
my
please.
question is to Amin. Well, you said that P2P has been remote in your particular organization. How exactly do you manage to rank a particular employee within a department or to gauge the performance of an employee? If you don't have any numbers or you don't have any data, how exactly are you going to see how is this employee performing? How do you push the boundaries? What are the practical ways of going about it? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's always expected when we say that we're bending rating. People would ask, how do you allocate rewards? How do you compensate people? But we're not moving measures. We're asking people to become accountable for the objectives. We're using OKR, but probably some of you would be familiar with that. But we ask people to set the objectives and to validate with their managers. And so the managers are playing the role of the coach, but they are not approving or rejecting objectives. And people are responsible for the feedback of it. And we also use analytics translator because we think this is the future. We would not have managers evaluating performance, and if we would have performance analysts or analytics translators who are making or using data to help employees make sense of the outcomes. For example, for the 360, where particularly, we get people to choose who to evaluate, who to provide feedback. And we share the feedback only with the employee without access for the HR, without access for the manager. And they make a decision, they make their own decision who you'd like to share the outcomes with. Or if you don't, you act on your own development pathways by yourself. We have also peer coaching, and on the other side, we kept for years asking managers to have that coaching meeting with the employees at least for 2 times or 3 times per year, and it's always challenging. But when we ask people to use peer coaching once per month, it's working effectively without any repercussions, without rewards. It's not associated with the evaluation and rewards and other things. Because if you are working on the diversity agenda, we all are bias creatures. And all the problem with performance management is because of the rater's error. Because we are biased to people who are similar to us. We are biased to people who are aware of the recency effect and Hawthorne effect and halo effect and all that effects that are distorting the evaluation. we're using performance management systems actually to produce performance, but for years and decades, we're focusing on evaluating performance. Think of how feedback is helping others, and think of how feed forward would help. So instead of evaluating the past, try to focus on the future-looking cycle, how we can discuss the potential improvements of the next quarter. So the manager is responsible for coaching people to think of the future rather than evaluating the past. Then there are lots of details in terms of the reward model, but you need to include some parts of team-based rewards, individual rewards, organization rewards, and also to introduce flexible benefits and other aspects. And also recognition is not just about performance. Sometimes we need to recognize people for their own presence, for bringing their own self at work. Think of the strengths of our people and how we are using our job descriptions today. Who of you is doing the typical job description that you have received? If you already have had the chance to see the job description, who is keeping doing the same job? Jobs are evolving. Engagement is achieved when people can connect the highest strength with the highest challenge. So they feel like they are accomplished, they are making significant contribution, they could find a meaning and create meaning for the organization. So the more you think of people as responsible, accountable, and that they're adults. They are not, we have no fathers and mothers at work. We have, people are on the same level. People are, it's a collegiality issue. We all are colleagues. Get people accountable for the results and they will impress you with the outcomes.
True. Simple model, use OKR. And if the same question you would have asked me in future of work, how the different models are going to work, it's as simple as that. World is moving towards Web 3.0. And I'm a part of Forbes Council. We discussed this there. It's as simple as that. You have to earn tokens. It's like decentralize your work. You have to earn tokens at whatever level you are to remain relevant in the system. We can talk a little bit more about it, but we are already up our time. Thank you so much for wonderfully listening to us and a beautiful panelist here. A big round of applause for everyone.